checking in with Mike Williams from the LA Chargers, and you're tuning into Chargers Unleashed.
Welcome to Chargers Unleashed. Dan Wolkenstein here from the LA Football Network. Today's show is being brought to you by Rock Solid Sports Memorabilia, Mint Mobile, Aura, Athletic Greens. If this is your first time tuning in, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, as well as on Twitter at LAC_Unleashed. Again, Jake Hefner is out on vacation. I will do my best to go solo and give you guys the recap, key takeaways from all things day 11 at Chargers training camp. I'm going to go over some key themes here, kind of give you a quick preview. The DBs stepped up today a bit. We saw some glimpses from Asante Samuel Jr. and Michael Davis. An increased focus on tight end usage today. Run defense showing signs of life. Kellen Moore emphasizing the middle eight. And things you love to see, file them under this category. Quentin Johnston catching bombs. Derius Davis getting utilized. All of that and more. We'll talk about some of the key takeaways throughout. Before we go any further, I want to talk to you about our friends over at Aura, sponsors of the show. Jake and I, we have talked about it ad nauseum, but we can't stress enough how important identity theft prevention is. Our friends over at Aura are giving 2 free weeks, a free trial for you to check it out, see how it works. You can prevent things like bots. You can prevent your identity from being stolen. Jake and I have been victims of this with Chargers Unleashed. Do me a favor. Take 50 seconds out of your time. Listen to what you have to say about our friends over at Aura, and then we'll go back to talking all things Los Angeles Chargers training camp right after this.
Have you ever Googled yourself and were shocked to see your personal information exposed on one of those public listing sites? Data brokers are making a fortune selling your information to robocallers, spammers, and others who want to learn more about you, like where you live.
We've been trying to reach you concerning your car's extended warranty.
That's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, Aura. Aura can identify data brokers exposing your info and submit opt-out requests on your behalf, and brokers everywhere are legally required to remove your info if you ask them to, but they make it super hard to do. So let Aura handle that for you. You could try Aura for up to 2 weeks using this link that we're going to put up here on the screen. Aura also does so much more to protect you and your family from online threats that you cannot see. So make sure to check out aura.com/Chargers Unleashed to get a 14-day free trial and see if your personal information has been leaked online.
All right, so day 11 is in the books. Boots on the ground were there from LA Football Network. We have Ryan Anderson there covering all the latest with some key takeaways, which we'll get into here for a second. But if you haven't already, go ahead and give Ryan a follow at RL Anderson LAFB for some key takeaways, themes, as he's been out at training camp many days. So we'll get into some of the takeaways that he has provided to me as well. So quick shout out to Ryan for kind of being the eyes and boots on the ground while I'm not there. Although I will be there tomorrow. So Chargers fans, if you're going to be there, come out, say hi. So let's get into it. So first thing, I guess a little piece of waiver wire news. We highlighted it yesterday, but the Chargers waived offensive lineman Nick Millsap and did indeed sign tackle Matt Caskey, according to the team this morning. So a little bit of roster updates. J.C. Jackson was working out periodically on the sidelines today. Quentin Johnston, as you heard from the top, was back after being out for a few days due to illness and was back in a good way. He wasn't perfect, but Quentin Johnston was there today. So let's kind of start off with Quentin Johnston catching bombs. Looks like Quentin Johnston's catching touchdowns from both Max Duggan and Justin Herbert today, both deep touchdown catches, as well as another catch for 30 yards plus. So Quentin Johnston, doing what Quentin Johnston does best. You see some of the highlights there on social media as well. Wasn't perfect. There was some timing kind of miscommunication or just kind of lapse of judgment a little bit when he did drop a pass on a screen, which there's highlights of that on there as well. Which kind of, we're so used to seeing how successful and how on point this Chargers quarterback room has been at camp. According to Ryan Anderson, he kind of mentioned today was kind of it wasn't perfect for the quarterbacks. We saw some off-target passes, and some of that could be due to, the DBs making it tough with positioning. But there was some kind of off-target throws and some missed throws, one of which was an interception by Michael Davis. I think Stick had some as well, more so than Duggan. I'm not sure if it was just maybe a little bit of, I don't want to say off day, but not a perfect day. Maybe it was miscommunication. Who knows? But quarterbacks weren't perfect. But again, advantage defense, which isn't necessarily a bad thing either. And speaking of defense, it looks like there was an emphasis today on the run defense specifically, according to Ryan, who was there. They had an impressive stop on 4th and short. They practiced a whole bunch of 4th and short yardage situations. Defense prevented a first down on both of them. One was stuffed at the line of scrimmage, and Eckler run up the middle. That was stuffed. The other was Eckler run right to the right side, B gap, which was also stuffed. We've seen how important this run defense improvement is and how much of an emphasis this team is putting on fixing that. And you're seeing that translated to training camp, where they're practicing situations, which we'll get into more situations here in a sec. But again, this is one of those, I don't know what you'd rather see. Like, would you rather see the run defense stout, or would you rather see the run offense balling out? Like, it's kind of a catch-22 either way. I think you'll see more of that as we get to preseason game number 1 this coming weekend, which Kellen Moore talked about at the podium today. He did talk about how that's one of the things he's most looking forward to, is seeing the running game get more opportunities and seeing some of those guys get opportunities to showcase what they're about. It's hard to see the running game kind of express itself during, padded practice. It's another thing when you see it during live games and reps from each of the guys. So that's where you'll probably see a lot of focus on the Joshua Kellys, the Larry Roundtrees, the Isaiah Spillers of the world. And the other thing that Kellen Moore did mention that he was looking forward to seeing was focusing on the operations, making sure that things are clean, not necessarily like how well individual players perform, but how well they are set up for success. Are they in the right positions? Are they following the right cadences? Are they actually, going through and staying away from penalties and staying away from mental mistakes? I think that's kind of what the focus is for Kellen Moore as we get into this first preseason game against the Rams. Derius Davis saw sighting today. Looks like he had a 30-plus yard touchdown pass. This is according to Daniel Wade, friend of the show at Locked On Chargers. He had tweeted out that he saw a pretty impressive catch from him. Let's see what else we got here. We mentioned Michael Davis. Michael Davis did have an interception on one Justin Herbert today. It kind of looked like it was like a 3rd or 4th read from Justin Herbert. Kind of looked like he was forcing it a bit. I would probably put this one on Justin Herbert more so than anything else. Although maybe they're just practicing a 4th down play. I'm not quite sure what happened there. It also looked like there was a deep pass that was open with a weapon down the middle. But nonetheless, Michael Davis did, in fact, actually catch it, which you talk about finishers finishing. That's what you got to do. Quentin Johnston and Asante Samuel Jr. Did have a rep against each other where apparently looks like a deep ball from Justin Herbert went awry as Asante Samuel Jr. was able to get a pass breakup on that.
If you've ever thought, why in the world is my wireless bill so damn high, then let me tell you about our friends over at Mint Mobile who we're partnering with for today's video. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for as low as $15 a month, and you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data. They're built on the nation's largest 5G network, so they keep costs low by selling directly to you online. They cut out the retail stores and the salespeople. All Mint Mobile plans include unlimited nationwide talk and text, plus lightning-fast 5G and free mobile hotspot. So why should you have to pay for more than you have to access the same network? It only takes 15 minutes to switch, and you'll be paying as low as $15 a month for your phone plan. It really is that simple. So use the link in the description below. Try mintmobile.com/Chargers Unleashed to get started. Click the link in the description below or scan the QR code.
Otherwise, I think that the biggest one, you saw tight ends seeing an increased focus. Donald Parham, Gerald Everett, Tre McKitty, all three of which saw a bunch of things go on today. Which is important to see. We've kind of wondered how long before we see the tight ends start to emerge. I know we talked about the tight ends doing their thing for Kellen Moore when they were in Dallas, and we didn't really see much of those. We saw more of the wide receivers go off so far. But it looks like the tight ends are getting more and more of a focus, especially today. So we'll see. I wonder how much of this is going to be tight ends focus once we get to the actual, game film. Everybody was kind of talking about, like, are we going to see tight ends utilized the way that they were in Dallas? And I'm not quite sure if we will see it as much as we saw in Dallas. I think Kellen Moore talked about and has talked about, like, how he kind of tailored the offense to their strengths. And I think this Chargers offense, I wouldn't necessarily say that the tight end is a strength of the Chargers offense is nearly as much as I would say the wide receivers are. And so you might see him kind of leaning into that. But, that being said, again, Tre McKitty, Donald Parham, and Gerald Everett all picked up big yardage passes. Gerald Everett got a touchdown today. Again, Ryan Anderson is the one that was able to kind of show that and talk to me about that afterwards. So overall, we saw a bump from the tight ends today, which is good. And then, some fun stuff. Kay Adams was there covering the team, had a whole bunch of interviews with Derwin James, with Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, talked about a whole bunch of stuff, talked about kind of whether or not Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are the best wide receiver duo in the NFL. And I don't know if I'd go best wide receiver, but I would say top 5 in a heartbeat. Talked about how the wide receivers and the offense in general are going to see more explosive plays. Talked about, Mike Williams talked about how Justin Herbert is kind of more unlocked now. Keenan Allen kind of talked about how he's talking more in the huddle, more comfortable. And then I think, honestly, my favorite part of all of this is Kay Adams on Twitter just clapping back at all of the trolls doing the Lord's work. It's interesting, and you notice how many people don't watch Chargers games. And so you see, like, some of these random people who haven't seen Chargers games at all are talking about how, how Justin Herbert, maybe, he's not clutch, or talking about how he's the reason that the Chargers, lost a playoff game, or, he's the reason for that interception against Kansas City with Gerald Everett last year, or that he's soft and, can't play hurt. Like, there's so many storylines nationally from folks that are just, like, stupid, if I'm being quite honest. And it was fun to wake up this morning and see Kay Adams just going off on all of them. So round of applause to Kay Adams. Appreciate you sticking up for Chargers fans and this Chargers team. And then I would say probably the biggest takeaway from the podium was Kellen Moore, offensive coordinator for the Chargers, harped on the importance of this term middle 8 situations, and kind of talked about how, one of the things that they've done really well is utilize time at training camp to focus on a whole bunch of different game situations and practicing it during practice. That way they're prepared for it by the time games come. And he mentioned the middle 8 is what was kind of focused on a bunch today. And for those who don't know, middle 8 is kind of the last 4 minutes of the first half paired with the first 4 minutes of the second half. So imagine at the end of the first half, beginning of the second half, how well are you able to either extend the lead you have to something that's insurmountable, or how much are you able to kind of come back from something using the middle 8 situations. Those are usually like backbreaker situations for either for or against a Chargers team. And unfortunately, we've seen far too many times the Chargers opening drive, especially third quarter in general last year, just be atrocious and are unable to get a touchdown to kind of start the second half strong. And this is something that plagued this Chargers team all last season. Remember, there was like some record breaking. It just felt like they were never getting a third quarter touchdown. And sure enough, that's something that they're practicing, where remember how many times we saw last year where, Chargers end the first half on, let's say, a field goal or even a touchdown. And you go thinking, okay, man, if they could just start the ball off strong, they were deferred, they get the ball to start the third quarter. If they could just get this touchdown to start the third, like, man, they're going to have some distance. They can make this 7-point game or 7-point lead, 4-point lead, or tie game 7 points, 10 points, 14 points in a hurry. And then they didn't. punt, miss field goal, punt, interception, punt, whatever. They didn't get it. So good to see the middle 8 situation is looking at under the microscope. Can this Chargers team kind of start fast, both at the beginning of the first half and the beginning of the second half? Can they end fast, not only at the end of the game, but end of the first half? So middle 8 is an important component that this Chargers coaching staff is focusing on and, again, expressing itself from today's practice. I'm realizing now I've gone through this way too quickly, and I'm not used to doing this by myself. Jake Hefner is usually the one that's enabling me to kind of take a breath for a second and maybe help you guys kind of understand things a bit more than I can express. So shout out to Jake Hefner. Wish he was here with us, but again, out on vacation, so he's doing things way more fun than any of us are. So that's kind of the key takeaways today from Chargers camp, training camp, number 11, talked about Quentin Johnston catching bombs, talked about Asante Samuel Jr. and Mike Davis, talked about the tight end seeing an increased focus, talked about the run defense, any emphasis on that, and talked about the middle 8. Otherwise, I guess some housekeeping things. Again, make sure to go hit the like and subscribe button on YouTube. We also got that giveaway still going strong for the signed Quentin Johnston jersey. All you got to do is go to our pinned tweet on Twitter, again, LAC_unleashed. Hit the retweet, hit the reply with your subscription proof, and you're entered to win that one. We'll be showcasing the winner here in a bit. Otherwise, go to the Bolt Show. We got a live show coming up here in a bit, early September. Tickets are still available. Go ahead and get yours. I think you can get into the event with as little as $5, and you can get all kinds of different signed jerseys and memorabilia, courtesy of Rock Solid Sports Memorabilia. Otherwise, I think that's going to do it. I went real quick. I want to get you guys info as much as possible from what I know. Again, I'll be out there in person tomorrow. Try to consolidate things as much as I can for you folks watching and viewing. I know you're starving for Chargers content. We're going to be talking about the preseason game here in a bit, what to look forward to, kind of the camp battles to look for, and what that might look like when it comes time for game time. Who are we going to see? All of that kind of stuff we're going to get into here later on in the week. But for now, I think that's going to do it. I'm going to go get a glass of water. Maybe, I don't know, get something to eat. I don't know. Wednesday, August 9th in the book. Training camp day 11 in the books. That's going to do it. For Jake Hefner, who is not here, Dan Wolkenstein from Chargers Unleashed and LA Football Network, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hope this helped a little bit as you are all starving for Chargers games to get here. We're so close. We're so close, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time on Chargers Unleashed.